to say that this is going to work and this will lead us to the next level. For example, in the 1959, when the seatbelt was invented, and initially it was something very peculiar, very unusual, and as we went on and on, we realized that this is something very crucial as a harm reduction strategy, and eventually policymaker adapted the concept, and today it just became a natural phenomena, and even without thinking, the moment you sit in the car, you will pull on the seatbelt. So what we are trying to say is that we would like to explore with you all the role of policy and how policymaker can influence harm reduction strategies and be able to allow the society have more choices as they go on. I'll start with you, to the energy industry. Eugene.
Yes, sir.
The floor is yours for the next few minutes. If you can shed light in what's happening in the energy industry when it comes to harm reduction.
Yeah, with pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Mazen. Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to convey my appreciation to CNBC for hosting this event, drawing attention to a subject that is very close to everybody's heart here, and that is harm reduction. But like the professor said earlier, when we think of harm reduction, we normally talk about issues related to substance abuse. But I think we also need to pay attention to another monster that's raising its head, and that is mental health issues. Because if you see today, mental health issues, especially with the advent of social media, are becoming quite severe. I was looking at a TV program last week at this institution in Maidenhead in the UK, and youngsters, they're really injuring themselves, and quite seriously, just because they don't have a balanced mind. And this is one of the problems that we also need to address. And we, in our industry, in the maritime industry, another issue that we face, which nobody likes to talk about, is the deaths of seafarers due to suicides. More often than not, you find a lot of seafarers just jumping over the ships and killing themselves because of mental health issues or because life at sea is a lonely life. And many people sometimes can't take that, and the loneliness drives them to take drastic actions. In our own case, we had 2 seafarers a couple of years ago who, when the vessel was actually coming into port, the guy would sign off in 2 days. But just before dinner, he got some message on his phone, or what we were told as part of the investigation. Of course, we didn't recover the body till now. It's more than 4 years. The body was just washed away. But he jumped overboard. And this is a problem, and to do something about it, and that's the thing for us as a responsible business, is to do something about it. So we hosted and started and commissioned an annual conference called Welfare Safety at Sea for Seafarers. In fact, our 5th conference will be held next week here at the Meridian Hotel. But that's the whole idea, because seafarers are a neglected lot. And I can tell you, during the COVID, life was hell for them. They could not get off their ship for 6 months, 8 months, even a year at a time, when the normal contract is 4 weeks. I know an instance where a captain's dead body was floating on the ship for more than 6 months because no port was willing to allow the body to be offloaded. That's how bad it is. And seafarers, they struggle, even though 90% of world trade moves by sea. So that's a challenge. But I don't want to deviate too much. And let me talk about road safety, since I'm here to talk about road safety. Road safety is a public health issue. More than 1 million people die every year on the roads due to road accidents. That means you have somebody dying, 2 people dying every minute. Just think about it. By the time we finish this event today, we started at 10, 12, more than 200 people could have died due to a road accident in this last 2 hours. And also think about it. Those people who died could be anybody. could be a father, mother, sister, friend, anybody, to anybody attending this conference or listening on this conference. And that is why this is a serious issue and needs to be addressed. And today, Tristar was founded on the three principles of no accidents, no damage to the environment. So these are the three principles that founded on that. And our vision and all our policies are directed on our vision of goal zero. So we aim to make sure that we don't cause any damage, we don't kill anybody, nobody gets killed because of our operations, and we don't damage the environment. This is easier said than done. But Dr. Mazen Beyar asked this question earlier, and I will come back. Our policies are all centered on the simple principle of goal zero. And why? Because more than 90% of all accidents are caused by human error. We are humans, and humans make mistakes. And that is the simple premise, that we make mistakes, and we need to address this. Safety and operations all boil down to the leadership. In an organization, it is up to the leadership. The policies are all have to be driven with visible and felt leadership. If I'm the CEO of the company, my leadership should be seen in every one of our employees. Only then it works. If there is no leadership commitment, safety will not work. We need to walk the talk, we need to set the example, and we have to lead from the front. And leaders at all levels have to understand and embrace the safety culture. Without strong leadership, safety will not work. Number two, you don't get ready-made drivers. It's a question of building that culture with counseling, coaching, the stick and a carrot approach. And more often that we've seen, what is a tool that works very effectively? And that is a hearts and minds approach. Nobody wants to die. Nobody is crazy enough to want to die. So the idea is to make people understand. Most of the drivers that we come across are there to earn a living. And we need to make them understand why they have chosen this profession, why they are working. Somebody there. See, all of us, at the end of the day, have somebody waiting for us at home. And that's a very important message. That's an incentive for somebody to pay attention that they need to go home because there is a loved one, there is somebody, your family, you have your children waiting for you. So hearts and minds has been a very powerful tool in our experience of making people change habits. It's all about changing habits. Like you get up in the morning, you need to have your coffee. It's the same thing. When you get into a car, you have to put the seatbelt on. It's as simple as that. It's only a question of making that a habit. Today, we have another habit which has evolved over the last 5 or 10 years, even though we lived without it before, is talking on the phone. You get into your phone, if it rings, you have to pick it up, or you want to pick it up. But what if you don't pick it up? What's going to happen? Is your life going to change? Is the world going to come to an end? No. So this is the approach we need to understand. What is more important, your life or the phone? And once you get used, it only takes a little while to not answering that phone, it will become a habit. And this is something that we need to develop as we go along, to develop everybody, to make sure that you make these habits, the good habits, the bad habits, we need to. It's not something that you can't get rid of. It's something that you have to cultivate and you've got to embrace. And then, of course, we have our golden rules. Again, as part of the employment contracts for our drivers, there are 4 or 5 golden rules that they have to sign up to. It's part of their employment conditions. And that is no speeding, keeping a safe distance, wearing seat belts all the time, and also not talking on the phone. If the driver is found talking on the phone, of course, today we have technology to monitor all these things, he can lose his job immediately. So that's how it is. And on the other side, to strike a balance, we also have reward and recognition programs for people who perform well. No accidents. Actually, every year, all our drivers are entitled to a no accident bonus they get every 12 months for not having an accident. And one thing we insist on that is there's no my fault or third-party fault. It's a question of no accidents, because even when you talk about not being an individual's fault, that's what we call defensive driving. You need to be able to adopt a defensive culture. So when you're driving on the road, you need to be focused on the road, and you need to look at external factors that can cause an accident. And let me give you a small example. You are driving on the road and you see a couple of passerbys or people just standing at the side of the road waiting to cross. So you need to anticipate that they could cross any time.
Absolutely.
So the thing is to take the initiative to slow down, because you can't anticipate what they're going to do. But that's about defensive driving. Another important tip I'll give you, which is quite serious, is when you are stopped at a red light. And the tendency is, when the light comes green, everybody just takes off. But what if somebody is crossing the red light on the other side? It could crash into you. I know you have the right of way. The light is green, you can go. But there's no harm in looking on left and right to see if somebody is crossing a red light from the other side. That could possibly save your life. And that's what defensive driving is all about, anticipating the worst-case scenario.
Amazing. I mean, role modeling, you've mentioned, Eugene, about role modeling. You've mentioned about habit, because it's all about bringing these practices in a daily basis and making it part of the fabric.
Correct.